Hi, Honors Chem students. This video is about how to write your data analysis without actually collecting the data. As you know, we're not doing the experiment. You're welcome to carry out the experiment if you'd like, but this is a research proposal and we are not actually collecting data. So how do we do that? It seems kind of counterintuitive. How can you write a data analysis if you have no data? So on your research proposal template, here is part 7, the data analysis. And in here, we need to present a plan for collecting the data. We need to record the data and have a plan for how to analyze the data. And if we look back at the data nugget, here's our data nugget that we did in class and the experiment where they measured pockets of liquid, and here's the data they collected. For each day, they took the average mass of the containers plus the water, and they did this for the control, the sodium chloride, and the magnesium sulfate. So we want to do this for our experiment. And again, I'm going to go back to my example. So here's my example again of how the amount of baking powder affects the height of cupcakes. And you recall that in the previous video, when I wrote my instructions, before I wrote them, I went back and looked at my question. And in particular, I looked at what I was going to measure. So I was going to measure the height, okay? And I wrote down some stuff, right? I wrote down that I need to record my data in the table, and I'm going to measure the height. And I'm going to do that in centimeters with a ruler before and after for 5 cupcakes for each amount of baking powder. So I'm going to have to set up this fake, okay, sample data table. So first I'm going to make a plan for my data collection. So I've written my plan here and basically what I'm going to record, how many times I'm going to record it, how I'm going to record it. So that's my brief plan for data collection. After that, I need to record my heights. So to make my sample data, I will open up a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet, and I can call this my sample cupcake data. So here's my Google Sheet, and I'm now going to set up my columns. So here I've set up trials, my heights, and I will go ahead and make up, some sample data that I'm going to put in here. So I could put in 2.5 for the height of just the batter before baking. So just to make it interesting, I can put in some variation in my numbers. And I can say that after baking, that maybe they rose about a centimeter. And I can, again, put in some numbers. Of course, I'm putting in numbers to support my hypothesis, but of course, I could randomly generate the numbers as well. And then the height that the cupcake rose, this is going to be part of my analysis, right? This is my data right here that I collected. But now to analyze the height that it actually rose, I need to subtract the two numbers. So in Excel, you can put a formula in. So if I put an equal sign, I can put an equals, then I can click the 3.5, then minus 2.5, and it will give me the value of that. And then it may also suggest that I autofill the formula to the rest of the cells, which I did. Now I want to do an average of these 5 trials. So again, there's another formula that you can use for average. You could just add these up and divide by 5, but I can also use a formula and a equation called average. And if I put an average and I drag over the cells that I want to average, can do that, close parentheses, and then there's my average for the height that the cupcake rose. So now I want to copy this table right here again, and I want to copy it underneath here and change this to half a teaspoon baking powder and make a table for the half teaspoon. So now I adjusted the data here. I made these a little higher for the half teaspoon, and then you can see that these heights automatically adjust because the formulas have been copied over too. And then I copied and pasted that table again and put in new heights for 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now I'm going to think about a way to graphically see the relationship between the amount of baking powder that's changed with the height that the cupcakes rose. So to see this relationship, I put down the amounts of baking soda that I tested, and then I put the average height that the cupcake rose for each amount. So I want to make a chart of this. So a easy way to get charts is to select the data that you want to make a chart for. And then down here, this little sort of star button, it says explore. You want to click that. And if you scroll down, it will give you a bunch of different tables that you might find handy. I kind of like this bar chart, so I'm going to click on that and drag it into the spreadsheet. And the chart automatically appears in the spreadsheet. So you can see here now with this chart, clearly as the amount of baking soda increases, the average height increases. So now I can clearly see the relationship between the baking soda and the height. Okay, so now I want to copy these tables over into my paper. So what I want to do is I'm going to copy, I'll show you how to copy and paste a table. So just copy the table that you want, Control C, then go to your paper, and then I can just go Control V, and I can either link to my spreadsheet, that'll put a link to the data, and I recommend that you do that so that if you want to go to your spreadsheet easily, you can click here and it will bring up a link, and you can just click on that and it will open up your spreadsheet and you can go and change things if you need to. So I'm going to go ahead and paste all of my tables into my paper. So I've now copied and pasted all of my tables into my paper. I also want the chart, so I will select my chart, Control C, go to my paper, Control V to paste. And there you got my chart in my paper now. And I just need to add a little bit of explanation about how my data was analyzed. And that completes the data analysis for the research proposal for my example. This is just one way you can analyze your data. There are other ways, and depending on your data that you're collecting, you may need a different way to analyze it. But I hope this was helpful in thinking about how you can write a data analysis when you're not actually collecting data.